The wind cut through Lisa's worn jacket as she huddled under the bridge, clutching her thin blanket to her chest. A bitter drizzle soaked the city streets, and her cardboard mat had already turned soggy beneath her. The distant hum of traffic was the only sound that filled the void of her thoughts that refused to let go of what had been. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. She never imagined herself homeless. Just a year ago, she had a beautiful home, a husband who promised her the world, and a future filled with hope. Now, she was just another invisible soul drifting through the cracks of society. Lisa's hands trembled, not just from the cold, but from the rage that still burned in her heart. Adam, the man she had given everything to, the man who had thrown her away like trash. He didn't just leave. He stripped her of everything. When the divorce papers came, so did the ugly truth. Adam had been having an affair for months with someone younger, flashier, and heartlessly cunning. Worse still, he didn't just take the house. They emptied the joint bank accounts too. Every dollar she'd saved from her small art business was gone. Lisa's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Her body tensed, but it was just old Mrs. Grayson, another of the city's lost souls. They exchanged a nod, no words needed. It was a strange, unspoken camaraderie among those who had nothing. She glanced down at her fingers, red and raw from the cold. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she quickly wiped it away. Crying wouldn't change anything. She had to survive, just make it to tomorrow. But fate had other plans. 2 days later, as Lisa sat on the curb sketching on the back of a crumpled flyer, a well-dressed man approached her. At first, she thought he was another city official about to chase her off. But instead, he stopped and knelt down to meet her gaze. "Lisa Morgan?" he asked cautiously, his tone gentle but formal. She hesitated. "Who's asking?" "I'm Charles Hayden. I work for the law firm handling the estate of Mr. Frederick Morgan, your former father-in-law." Lisa's heart clenched. Frederick had been the only decent person in Adam's family. The old man had always treated her kindly, even when Adam grew distant. But she hadn't heard from him in months. "Is he gone?" she whispered. Charles nodded, his face softening. "I'm afraid so. The funeral was last week." Lisa lowered her eyes. She hadn't even known. How far had she fallen that she didn't hear about the passing of a man who once called her his daughter? "I'm sorry," Charles continued, pulling an envelope from his coat. "Mr. Morgan requested that you be present at the reading of his will. It's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Here's the address." She stared at the elegant script on the envelope, her mind reeling. Why would Frederick include her? Surely everything would go to Adam. As if reading her thoughts, Charles added, "Mr. Morgan was very specific about wanting you there. Please don't miss it." Before she could respond, he gave a polite nod and walked away, leaving her with more questions than answers. The next day, Lisa gathered her meager belongings, just in case, and headed toward the address. The mansion looked as grand as ever, but it didn't feel like home. Adam's car was already parked outside. A shiny new sports car, no doubt a gift from his mistress, Tiffany. Lisa swallowed her pride and pushed open the door. The familiar scent of cedar and leather flooded her senses, and her heart twisted with a mix of nostalgia and pain. A few familiar faces from the business world were scattered throughout the room, whispering in hushed tones. As soon as Adam spotted her, his eyes narrowed. "What the hell are you doing here?" he hissed, grabbing her arm and dragging her into the hallway. Lisa yanked her arm free. "I was invited." He scoffed, glancing at her disheveled appearance. "By who? Nobody wants you here. You're a joke." "Frederick wanted me here," she shot back, her voice surprisingly steady. Adam glared at her, his jaw tight, but before he could say anything else, a booming voice from the study called out, "We're ready to begin." As Lisa stepped inside, she found Tiffany perched next to Adam, her overly perfect smile plastered across her face. Charles stood at the front of the room, a large envelope in hand. "Thank you all for being here today," he began. Mr. Frederick Morgan was a remarkable man, both in business and in life. As his attorney and close friend, it is my duty to fulfill his final wishes. He cleared his throat and glanced at Lisa briefly before continuing. To Adam Morgan, my son, I leave my collection of classic cars and my yacht, the Rising Sun. Adam leaned back, smugly gripping Tiffany's hand. To Tiffany Summers, I leave the summer estate in Naples, Florida, and an accompanying fund to maintain the property. Lisa's chest tightened. Of course, Tiffany would come out richer than before. Charles continued, his tone unwavering. To Lisa Morgan, my former daughter-in-law. Adam snorted loudly. This ought to be good. Charles ignored him and went on. I leave the entirety of my real estate holdings, including the primary mansion and the attached property, as well as full ownership of Morgan Industries and all associated assets. A stunned silence filled the room. Adam bolted upright, his face red and twisted. What the hell are you talking about? She's nobody. She's homeless. Charles gave him a stern look. Frederick specified that in the event of a divorce, the entirety of his estate would transfer to Lisa, as he had no faith in Adam's ability to honor his commitments or maintain the family legacy. Tiffany's smile fell, her eyes darting between Adam and Charles in disbelief. Adam clenched his fists, storming toward Charles. This has to be some kind of mistake. My father wouldn't do this. Charles remained calm. The will is explicit and binding. Your father made it clear. Lisa is the rightful heir. Lisa's mind was spinning. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Adam's smug confidence shattered, and Tiffany's golden glow faded into pale disbelief. For the first time in months, a glimmer of hope flickered in Lisa's heart. She couldn't help but let out a shaky breath as Charles approached her, offering the documents. You may take possession immediately, he said kindly. Your name is on every deed and contract. Congratulations, Mrs. Morgan. Adam looked ready to explode, but Lisa just smiled. A soft, genuine smile, finally seeing a future where she wasn't just surviving but thriving. Lisa stared down at the papers in her trembling hands, still processing the enormity of what just happened. It didn't feel real. Moments ago, she was shivering on a wet sidewalk, and now she owned a multi-million-dollar estate and the controlling share of Morgan Industries. Adam, meanwhile, was losing his composure, throwing his hands in the air and shouting at Charles, who remained stoic and professional. This is a setup. There's no way my father would leave it all to her. Adam barked, pointing at Lisa as if accusing her of theft. Tiffany grabbed his arm, trying to calm him down, but her own face was twisted in a mixture of fear and fury. Adam, maybe there's a way to challenge it, she whispered urgently. Lisa kept her head held high, refusing to meet Adam's glare. She couldn't afford to show weakness now. The last thing she wanted was to look like she didn't deserve this moment. After all the humiliation and betrayal, this was her victory, even if it didn't feel that way just yet. Charles cleared his throat, commanding attention. The will was verified and signed in the presence of witnesses. Frederick Morgan's decision is final and binding. Any attempts to contest the will would require substantial evidence of misconduct or duress, none of which exist. Adam's face twisted with rage. He lunged toward Lisa, but Charles swiftly stepped in between them. I suggest you take some time to process this information, Mr. Morgan, he warned. Any threats or violence will not be tolerated. Lisa forced herself to speak, her voice surprisingly steady despite the tumult inside her. You did this to yourself, Adam. You betrayed me, abandoned me, and never thought I'd survive without you. Your father saw through your lies, and this is his decision, not mine. His eyes burned with hatred. You think you're going to get away with this? You think you're going to walk in and take over my father's company? You're nothing but a washed-up nobody. A surge of anger flared within her, but she kept it controlled. You made me homeless, Adam. You didn't care how I survived. Your father did. Maybe it's time you accept that your actions have consequences. Charles motioned for Adam and Tiffany to leave, But not before Adam shot one last venomous glance at Lisa. "You'll regret this," he muttered, storming out with Tiffany trailing behind, her stilettos clacking angrily on the marble floor. Once they were gone, Charles offered Lisa a sympathetic smile. "I know this is overwhelming. Let's go through the paperwork, and I'll explain everything you need to know." Lisa nodded, her mind still spinning. As they moved into the private office, she couldn't help but feel a wave of emotions: gratitude, disbelief, and a lingering ache of sadness. Frederick had always been kind to her, but never in her wildest dreams had she expected him to leave her his legacy. Charles placed a thick folder on the mahogany desk and gestured for her to sit. "Frederick made it clear that you were his choice to take over the company. He valued your integrity and kindness. He didn't believe Adam would uphold the family values he worked so hard to establish." Tears stung her eyes as she traced her fingers over the embossed company logo. "I don't know anything about running a business," she admitted softly. "That's understandable," Charles replied, his tone reassuring. Frederick anticipated that. He left behind a team of trusted advisors to guide you through the transition. You'll have the final say in all major decisions, but you won't be alone in this. Lisa swallowed hard, overwhelmed by the responsibility. "Why did he do this for me?" she whispered. Charles hesitated, then opened the folder to reveal a handwritten letter. "He left you this," he said, sliding it across the desk. With shaky hands, Lisa unfolded the letter and read, "My dearest Lisa, if you're reading this, I've left this world, but I hope I've left you something more than just material wealth. I knew Adam had changed, long before the divorce. I saw how he treated you, how he dismissed your dreams and dismissed your worth. It broke my heart to watch you suffer while he chased empty ambitions. You have always been the daughter I wished I'd had. Your kindness and unwavering spirit deserve better than the life my son gave you. I cannot undo his mistakes, but I can make sure you're taken care of, and that Morgan Industries remains in good hands. Use this second chance to rebuild your life. You deserve happiness, and I believe in your ability to succeed, even if you don't see it right now. My trusted advisors will support you, but never forget that this is your legacy now. Make it yours. With love and respect. Frederick, ****. Tears spilled onto the paper, and Lisa couldn't stop them. Frederick had seen her pain, even when she tried so hard to hide it. He had known what Adam had become, and he had chosen her, not out of pity but because he believed in her. Charles allowed her a moment to collect herself before speaking. "You don't have to make any decisions today. Take your time and settle in. The staff has prepared the master suite for you." Lisa looked up, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Just yesterday she was sleeping under a bridge, and now she had a mansion to herself. It felt surreal, like a dream she might wake up from at any moment. "I don't know where to start," she confessed. "Start by taking care of yourself," Charles advised. "You've been through enough. Let the staff help you get settled. Tomorrow we can discuss your role at the company." Lisa nodded, giving him a grateful smile. As Charles gathered his papers and left, she remained seated, the letter still clutched in her hand. A new sense of purpose filled her chest, a cautious but determined resolve to honor Frederick's memory and prove that his faith in her wasn't misplaced. As she wandered through the grand halls, she couldn't help but think about Adam and Tiffany's reactions. They would undoubtedly plot to undermine her, but Lisa wasn't the same woman they had left behind. This was her new beginning, a chance to rise from the ashes of betrayal and reclaim her life. She paused in front of a massive portrait of Frederick in the foyer, his stern but kind eyes watching over her. "I'll make you proud," she whispered. "I promise." The next morning, Lisa woke in the plush, king-sized bed, the sunlight streaming through the sheer curtains. For a moment she didn't move, afraid it was all just a cruel dream. But the soft, silky sheets and the faint scent of lavender told her otherwise. This was real. She was no longer homeless, no longer desperate and abandoned. Sitting up, she glanced around the master suite, her suite now. Memories of living in this mansion with Adam flickered through her mind, but she quickly brushed them aside. That life was over. A knock at the door made her jolt upright. "Come in," she called, trying to sound composed. A housekeeper named Maria peeked in with a warm smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Morgan. Breakfast is ready in the dining room whenever you're ready. Would you like some coffee brought up?" "Yes, please," Lisa replied, still unsure of how to act in this world of luxury. Maria nodded and slipped away, leaving Lisa alone with her thoughts. As she dressed in some comfortable clothes the staff had set out for her, Lisa couldn't help but reflect on how quickly her life had changed. She went from invisible to powerful overnight. But power wasn't something she craved. Stability and dignity were enough. Still, she knew that owning Morgan Industries came with responsibilities she couldn't ignore. After breakfast, Charles arrived promptly, carrying more paperwork and updates from the company. Lisa met him in Frederick's old office, a vast, imposing room filled with leather-bound books and framed accolades. "I wanted to give you some breathing room," Charles said as he settled into a chair across from her. "But there are matters that need your attention." Lisa nodded. "I understand. Please go ahead." He placed a file on the desk. "First, there's the matter of the board of directors. Some members are uneasy about the transition of power. They expected Adam to take over and are surprised, to put it mildly. We need to convene a meeting and address their concerns." Lisa bit her lip. "Do they know about Adam's behavior and why Frederick chose me?" Charles hesitated. "Not entirely. Frederick didn't want to publicly shame his son, despite his disappointment. The official statement only says that he deemed you the more capable and trustworthy heir." Lisa nodded thoughtfully. "Let's schedule the meeting. I'm not afraid to face them." He gave her an approving nod. "Very well. One more thing. Adam has filed a preliminary challenge to the will, claiming undue influence and lack of capacity." Lisa's stomach dropped. "He's really going to drag this out?" "Yes," Charles replied calmly. "But given the clear legal standing of the will, it's more of a nuisance than a legitimate threat. We'll handle it. You just focus on establishing your position as the new head of the company." Feeling a surge of determination, Lisa straightened in her chair. "Then that's what I'll do." The boardroom was filled with somber, suited executives when Lisa entered, their eyes tracking her every move. Adam was already there, leaning back arrogantly with Tiffany by his side. Lisa took a deep breath and walked to the head of the table, where Frederick used to sit. Charles cleared his throat and introduced her. "Ladies and gentlemen, as per the directives of Frederick Morgan's will, Lisa Morgan is now the primary shareholder and CEO of Morgan Industries." Adam scoffed. "This is a joke. She knows nothing about business." Lisa shot him a cold glare. "Maybe not yet, but I know integrity. And that's something you lost a long time ago, Adam." One of the board members, an elderly man named John, spoke up. "Lisa, with all due respect, running this company requires experience and strategic insight. What qualifications do you bring to the table?" Lisa took a deep breath, remembering Frederick's letter. "I understand your concerns, and I know I have a lot to learn. But Frederick didn't choose me because of my business expertise. He chose me because he believed in my character and my commitment to this company's values. He knew I wouldn't use the company for selfish gains or reckless ventures. That's why I'm here, to protect his legacy, not exploit it." There was a murmur of approval among a few members, but Adam jumped in, his voice loud and desperate. "That's ridiculous. You're not protecting anything. You're just playing dress-up while the company crumbles around you. You're going to ruin everything my father built." Lisa remained composed, refusing to let his words shake her. "The only thing that's been ruining this company is your reckless behavior and unethical practices. The board will soon see that. I'm here to rebuild trust and stability, not chase risky investments for personal gain." Charles intervened smoothly. "Frederick's decision is final and legally binding. Lisa is now the majority shareholder and has the full authority to make executive decisions. I suggest we all work together to ensure a smooth transition. Adam's face twisted with rage, but he had no more words to throw. Tiffany sulked beside him, clearly frustrated at being on the losing side. After the meeting, some board members cautiously approached Lisa to offer their support, while others remained skeptical. She knew earning their trust would take time, but that was a challenge she was willing to face. Back at the mansion, Lisa found herself wandering through the garden, breathing in the scent of roses and remembering quieter, happier times. She couldn't help but think of Frederick, how he had quietly watched over her even when she thought she was completely alone. The sound of footsteps made her turn, and there stood Maria, smiling kindly. "You did well today, Mrs. Morgan." Lisa managed a small smile. "It still feels surreal. I never wanted any of this." Maria nodded. "Frederick knew you'd feel that way, but he also knew you were strong enough to handle it. He always said you had a good heart, and that's what this place needed." Tears welled up again, but Lisa kept them at bay. "Thank you, Maria. I just want to make him proud." "You already are," Maria replied gently. "Take one step at a time." A week later, Lisa received word from Charles that the court had rejected Adam's challenge to the will. The evidence was overwhelmingly in her favor, and Adam had no grounds to contest it further. One evening, as she sat in the study going through some of Frederick's old letters, her phone rang. It was Charles. "Lisa, you're not going to believe this," he said, his tone tinged with amusement. "Adam and Tiffany just filed for divorce." Apparently, Tiffany didn't realize that the prenup prevented her from getting a single dime if the marriage lasted less than 2 years. Without the inheritance, Adam is bankrupt. Lisa couldn't help but laugh, feeling the final weight lift from her shoulders. It was poetic justice. Adam had betrayed her for the illusion of a better life, and in the end, he had nothing. As the sun set over the mansion, Lisa stood on the balcony, letting the cool breeze wash over her. A sense of peace settled within her, the kind she hadn't felt in years. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she wasn't the broken woman Adam had left behind anymore. She was stronger now. She was Frederick's heir, and she would carry his legacy forward with pride and purpose. Smiling softly to herself, Lisa whispered into the fading light, "Thank you, Frederick. I won't let you down." Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.